Kevin, have did you decide to get vaccinated?
I did.
And which shots did you choose?
I just took what was available. I think I got Pfizer.
Yes, as I've revealed recently, I just got my second Pfizer shot last Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
and I was fortunate so far from both shots only to feel a bit tired. But I wanted to go to Jimmy Dore sharing his experience with the second Moderna shot
Mm-hmm.
because uh, about a week and a half ago on the show, I called out some progressives for performing erasure of criticisms of the vaccines, especially erasing left criticisms like Jimmy Dore's. So I'm going to read his tweets real quick. Update: got my second Moderna shot on April 17th. Have had body and joint pain and general flu-like symptoms ever since. Most recently, experiencing wicked stiff neck on same shot side the shot was administered. This is over a month now. And if when you click through these quote tweets, there's going to be a lot of the progressives that are the vax absolutionists
Yeah.
going through trying to invalidate these symptoms. But Jimmy Dore is proving that there could be some real side effects that go beyond just being sick for a day or two. What are your thoughts of the discourse that's happened from Jimmy Dore revealing his symptoms?
Um. I mean, what I find. I think that's interesting. Sorry, I forgot what I was saying for a second. No. I think sometimes what's also missed is from like white leftists is it's not talked about the history of some of the shit that's gone on with like medical experiments that have happened to blacks and natives of this country without their consent, and why there's
Tuskegee experiment?
that as well. And some of this is still going on, or like what happens in the ICE facilities where they do non-consenting tube ties. There and or how there's a genuine threat for people who are um, Hispanic or illegal, that if they get the vaccine that's when they get thrown to ICE. So that stuff I feel like can be tone deaf because that isn't brought up. They're just brought up that like they're uneducated masses. I feel like that's kind of I don't know, racist to me. But I don't, even if you disagree with like saying that, bringing up I think you should still get the vaccine even if it has side effects because we're saving lives. But being an asshole about it, how is that going to do anything? Like, are you actually going to convince people, or are you just going to prove that you're kind of I don't know, a jackass?
Yeah, you pretty much called out the majority of the group that of the progressives that are just coming out with shitty bad faith attacks, calling
Mm-hmm.
it an experiment of anti-vax or Jimmy Dore's ascension to the right because there's people who feel like he's been that way for a while just because he doesn't stick to the approved progressive talking points. And Nick pretty much nailed it in this top reply here. Jimmy Dore derangement syndrome has people attacking him for simply sharing his personal health experiences. Insanity.
Yeah. I mean, you know what you could would be far more effective is us pushing Joe Biden to get rid of the patents on the vaccine, because we need the vaccine to be global, all the vaccines to be global if we want to actually deal with the pandemic, instead of getting upset at some random person on Twitter.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well, because Joe Biden just barely got shamed into lifting those patents a couple weeks ago.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's
And
like
you
the
also,
bare minimum. We should probably be doing more than that, but
yeah. And you also have to understand the reason why there's a lot of people skeptical of taking this vaccine is because a lot of it is very experimental,
mm-hmm.
and there isn't the testing that's needed for it. So that's another issue as well. And there's a lot of people of color on the left
Yeah.
who don't trust any of these vaccines right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why they don't plan to take them. And that doesn't mean they're anti vax either.
No, I mean, it's interesting because these like liberal leftists, in terms like traditional sense, because they're for social democratic policies, but they don't want to actually socialize the country. If I'm making sense. Uh,
Yeah.
Oftentimes they also they just repeat the propaganda the state says about Russia and China's vaccine, where I'm not saying you can't criticize those countries, but the Sputnik vaccine has been the safest one to take and just as effective as everyone else. But there was a lot of propaganda thrown around about how, oh, it's so dangerous and people are dying, and it's had it's had similar it's had enough. It's like what, 5 million people have used it, so that's a good sample size, and it's had uh, very few effects, no deaths or anything. So I don't know. It's interesting how that's not brought up, where we fall into our nationalism a little too much.
And a lot of these people who are attacking Jimmy Dore for telling his experience, they're just hitting him with the big pharma talking points.
Yeah.
And we have to be more critical, think more critically about what big pharma tells us.
Mm-hmm.
And to go further into Jimmy's reasoning for taking the vaccine, he said it was recommended to him by that doctor that managed to save his life. So when he did it, it was because he trusted his doctor. Because I'm also seeing anti the people on the left who weren't getting the vaccine also criticize him for making that decision as well.
Mm-hmm. Also, their strategy isn't. It's kind of like shaming people into voting. It tends to not be very effective when you like aren't empathetic to someone where they're coming from, even if you disagree, because it's not about what it seems to me is like it's not about them wanting people to get vaccinated. It's about them wanting to be like, huh, I'm right and you're wrong, and you're just a dumb hick. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, he's getting attacks from both sides. And I know Jimmy Dore is considered divisive,
I mean, I have my
and
problems with him, but this isn't one of them.
and he's and a lot of his attacks are brought on him, especially for being one of the top voices for force the vote, and how a portion of the left really turned against him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why this discourse in this in his replies and the quote tweets are pretty rough to look at.
Yeah.
So as I said before, with the information about all these vaccines right now,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's fair to take the authoritative stance and try to force people into taking the vaccines. And at the same time, I feel like you're going to have a slight majority take these vaccines anyway.
Yeah.
And if the information was really trustworthy, it would speak for itself, and you would get even more of these people who are skeptical right now to change their position and get the shots. And with that being said, the reason why I chose Pfizer over Moderna or Johnson and Johnson
Mm-hmm.
and even AstraZeneca, which is being offered in Canada, is because just based on my observation, the Pfizer symptoms were less severe than any of the other shots being offered.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if you had that type of thought process as well.
I mean, with my job, I'm interacting with a lot of people. So first I thought I just need to get it because getting COVID is more dangerous than the vaccine. Not to say you can't criticize the vaccine there, but in terms of just risk evaluation, any vaccine I'm going to be better off with than possibly getting COVID. That was my logic. And then I'm like, whatever one I can get the fastest.
Yeah, for me, my logic was always I'm choosing the one which I know from feeling that I'm decreasing my odds of getting those aggressive symptoms that
Mm-hmm.
are worse than average that I hear a lot more from people who take Moderna instead of Pfizer
I also
or even
thought
Johnson and
they
Johnson.
might end up taking the mask mandate down before I thought they should have, which I think my gut feeling about that was correct. So I'm glad I got it as soon as I could, just for my own
Yeah,
self.
yeah,
If
I
you don't
think that
work, because
was
I work in a service industry job, if you don't, I could understand having a different perspective. But that was my risk evaluation to it.
yeah, I don't have the high risks just yet
Mm-hmm.
because I'm still looking for another job,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like I made the best decision I could with the information that's currently available.
For sure.